Prebiotics and probiotics comprise a new mantra today, but how do they actually work? And how can you incorporate them into your daily diet? Well, I invite you to join us during the next 30 minutes and learn about prebiotic and probiotic agents and how they work, and which foods contain them. You are about to discover some truly incredible edibles. Hello, my name is Charles Bedord, and my guests today are Hema Gundargi and Jessica Keating. Hema is a graduate student, and Jessica is an undergraduate student in the Department of Nutrition and Dietetics at San Jose State University. Hema and Jessica, welcome to The Better Part.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have both of you. Before we get too far into our discussion, we need to clarify some terms, perhaps. First of all, can you tell me, what is a gut microbiome? And is this a new terminology?
Well, gut microbiome is a terminology which is now becoming very popular, but basically what it means is the microbes. Microbes consist of bacteria, yeast, fungi, which are all residing in us and on us. And don't worry about it that bacteria all are bad. There are many bacteria which are really good for you. So this is gut microbiome is basically all the bacteria and all the different type of microbes that live in your system.
And when you say our system, does this include from your mouth all the way down through the gut? Or?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
And there are different types in different parts of your gut. Yes, there are millions of microbes that reside there.
And is this a new terminology, or has it been around for a long time and people just haven't heard about it much?
Well, I think now what's happened is with all the genome sequencing, which has become very, very sophisticated, and also the computer technology, so now we're looking at our body in a very different way. And microbiome is a new concept which has come with the latest research and technology. So now we are looking at our body in a very unique way.
I see. That's very interesting. Can you tell me, how do they get their microbiome? Where does it come from, and how does it develop over the years?
Well, your microbiome first is established actually from the birth canal. So when the baby comes out, they are introduced to the mother's microbiome. And from there until the age of 3, their microbiome is developing, and at 3 they're considered mature.
So does it continue developing though after the age of 3? For instance, if they go to if they eat different foods or go to different environments?
Yes. So not necessarily developing, but it's always changing. It's extremely sensitive to environmental factors, lifestyle factors, dietary factors. So the concentrations between different microbes within your microbiome are always changing.
So then if it develops, if the fetus is exposed when it comes through the birth canal, then does I take it the microbiome reflects the mother's microbiome?
Yes, that's right. And in fact, the new research shows that a baby which is born via C-section, cesarean section, has totally different microbiomes. And they're trying to do the latest research is trying to see if they can take the microbes from the mother's birth canal and swab the baby as soon as they're born. And they're trying to see if that affects, because the microbiota is very unique, and they're starting off the baby on a right path by giving the swab from the mother's canal, birth canal.
Now, two other terms I want to discuss. First of all, what is a probiotic? We hear this term all the time. We pick up yogurt and they say probiotics, and we hear it in advertising. What exactly is a probiotic agent? And can you give some examples, perhaps?
Yes, probiotic are live bacteria which are in foods, and when you ingest in a certain quantity, it helps your digestion. And probiotics are there in fermented foods like yogurt, in miso paste, in tempeh, in kefir. And this is something which now you see it in the market, but you've been eating it all the while. So it's not a totally new concept, but it's been marketed much more with all the probiotic label that's there on all the processed foods.
Now, you've used a term in there, and that's a live bacteria, or
Yes.
so on. So I understand that there's a couple types of foods out there which contain many bacteria, but do the and some of these bacteria are dead bacteria.
Yes.
So does a probiotic agent have to have live cultures or live bacteria?
Yes, probiotic is live bacteria. We do eat a lot of dead bacteria. I mean, the meat which you eat is dead bacteria, but we're okay with it. Our system handles everything. But the live bacteria is the probiotic that I'm mentioning.
One other term I wanted to clear up a little bit, and that is prebiotic. Can you give me what is a prebiotic, and can you give me some examples of prebiotic agents?
So a prebiotic is basically what your probiotics are eating. And prebiotics can be anything from broccoli, bananas, chocolate, bread, really a wide variety of foods, but it's basically...
Basically, prebiotics are green leafy vegetables, apples, bananas, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, dark chocolate. So we have some good prebiotic
That sounds like
food.
my kind of prebiotic.
Yes, yes.
So essentially, the probiotic bacteria live off the prebiotics.
Yes, yes.
And
yes.
I take it these also include carbohydrates, complex polysaccharides,
Yes,
etc.
yes, that's
Okay.
right. That's right.
Okay. Now, one other term we've heard about is symbiotic state in the system. Tell us a little bit about what that means as far as nutrition goes.
Symbiotic state basically means a balance of the good and the bad bacteria that's there in your system. But another term that comes to mind with prebiotic and probiotic is when you have a good amount of prebiotic and probiotic, you have something called a symbiotic diet. And we really all should aim for having a symbiotic diet. What do I mean by that? So basically, you know yogurt has probiotic, and you know banana has prebiotic. You combine banana and yogurt, and you got a symbiotic, which your gut really enjoys. So there's so many combinations that you can match the pro with the pre, and you get a wonderful symbiotic, which your gut just loves.
So what happens if you get, let's say, out of this homeostatic state between prebiotics and probiotics? How do you know that maybe something is not right?
So that's when you start getting problems with digestion, and there's a lot of research going on about it, and there's research being done on if there's a connection between this imbalance that causes IBD and IBS, irritable bowel syndrome.
Okay.
So there are a lot of research going on about that.
So we might have a delicate balance here between diarrhea and constipation.
Yes, yes.
In a sense. So it's interesting. So you can kind of adjust that by picking the foods, the substrates for the bacteria
Yes.
and molds and so on, and then the correct bacteria and microflora.
Yes.
So what can I do, and perhaps you've already answered this question to an extent, but what can I do to help my microbiota flourish, or my probiotic bacteria, excuse me?
So basically, there are a couple of things which help the microbiota, and there are a couple of things which actually affect the microbiota. So, for example, antibiotics, it kills the infection and kills the bacteria, but at the same time it kills the good bacteria. And
Right.
so antibiotic should be taken with caution. You should not just run to the antibiotic for the smallest little problem. Try and see if your body works it out. But what antibiotic does, it sort of messes up with the probiotic. So one thing you can do is use antibiotic only when needed. And there are times when you do need antibiotic, when you're really sick. You do have to resort to antibiotic, but don't overuse antibiotic. That's one thing that you can do to help preserve the balance. And of course, eating these right foods is a good way to balance your microbiota.
Now, one of the things we've talked about in terms of probiotics, we've talked about yogurt, of course, was a dairy food. And I imagine other types of dairy foods, also dairy-related foods, I should say, things such as cottage cheese and so on, might also contain probiotic bacteria. What about people who cannot tolerate dairy foods? Are there probiotic foods that are not dairy in nature?
Yes, there are many. You should look at different cultures, and basically probiotics is very prevalent in fermented foods. So when I say fermented foods, I'm looking at miso paste, which is used in Japanese food. Miso paste, you have the miso soup, in then sauerkraut, which is cabbage.
Oh, I love sauerkraut.
Oh, you're doing your gut a lot of favor.
I love sauerkraut.
So sauerkraut is one. Tempeh is another soy product which has been fermented. And the new drink, which is very popular these days, is kombucha. Kombucha is good. Kefir, it's another drink which is sort of a variation of yogurt.
Kombucha, is that where this guy raises sobies?
I'm not sure about...
little sobi bacteria that float around the top of the drink?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kombucha.
Yeah, I've heard about that. It's been written up in several magazines recently.
Yes. And kefir drink is another very interesting probiotic drink which has live bacteria. It's a little different in taste, but I would urge you to taste it. You know, you get used to different types of flavors because you want to eat as many diverse foods as possible to get different types of good bacteria, good probiotics in your system.
Now, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here with you, and I'm going to say, this all sounds very good and well, but why can't I just eat what I want, what tastes good to me? And if I need anything else, I'll just go to the health food store and buy a vitamin supplement, take a pill, and be done with it. Is that an alternative approach?
Well, that's a lazy person's alternative, but let me tell you, the supplements, there are a lot of probiotic supplements which are there in the market, but the supplement is not regulated by the FDA. So there is no control about exactly how much of probiotic strains are there in the supplement. And also, the one easy thing to remember is when you eat in the natural foods, it's very rare that you will overdo. I mean, how much of yogurt are you going to drink? You're not going to drink a gallon of yogurt. So you're never going to be overdoing your probiotic. Whereas in supplement, it's very easy to overdo, and we don't have too much research which supports, which has actually done clinical trials with the use of supplements and what happens if you do way too much probiotics.
You know, that's a good example. That's a good thing you brought up there, because I've seen many vitamin supplement bottles, and they'll say, you know, recommended daily requirement percentage of, and they'll say 300, 400, 500%. And I often wonder, do you really need 5 times the recommended daily dose of this?
I think we can do a different show on that topic. There's so much to talk about it. But coming to probiotic, we really don't know what happens if you have too much probiotic. And you're not going to overdose yourself with probiotics bacteria in the natural form. I can assure you, without having embarrassing
without embarrassing consequences, yes.
Yes.
Now, I've got a friend who told me that he took a probiotic drink. He's an athlete, and he was having some stomach problems beforehand, and it just cleared him up amazingly. I took that same drink. It didn't agree with me at all. Why is that? Well, why do people react so differently?
Well, everyone's different, and also because your microbiome is affected by so many different things, how one person is affected by something such as a kombucha is going to be different than how someone else could be, just simply based maybe on different lifestyle factors or stress levels, or just like what's actually going on inside of the body.
Well, I can say the microbiota of each person is like our, the thumbprint. Each person has a very unique system, very unique way they handle food. So what works for one person may not necessarily work for you. So you always have to, even when I say probiotic and prebiotic is good, always take it with, take small steps towards getting the full dosage. You don't want to overdo at the first time you take it, because you want to see how your body reacts. As I said, every human being is very unique and very different. So you want to take it slowly and then build up the level that you want to consume.
So this is a situation, it sounds like, that you need to go in and try a little bit of this, try a little bit of that, see what works for you.
Yes.
And play around with it.
Yes, yes.
It's just that you can't go in and say, well, I'm going to go ahead and eat 2 cartons of yogurt today, and
Yes.
that's going to do me
Yes.
wonders. I mean,
Exactly,
okay,
exactly.
it may or may not.
Yes.
Jessica, I understand you have some good knowledge about an area which I find kind of fascinating, and that is a reaction between probiotics and a person's mood. That essentially the probiotics that you bring into your system that can not only affect your gut, but your mind also, and how you feel. Can you tell us a little bit about, please, about the gut-brain connection with probiotics?
Yes, so this is an extremely new and exciting connection that has just been discovered within the microbiome research. And it's basically showing that your microbiota have the ability to manipulate and manufacture neurotransmitters, which regulate your mood.
Really?
Yeah, and they also have connection to several psychological states such as anxiety, depression, sociability. So this connection basically is paving the way for future treatment methods that can use the body to treat the body, and is kind of broadening on not only how we understand the body, but also how we can treat it. So it's super exciting research, and it's kind of the missing link, I guess you could say, to understanding the body on a whole level, because this is the smallest possible thing within your body, and it's affecting things that are massive, like mood and your anxiety levels. And this is something that can benefit the general public, not just people with psychological abnormalities.
Now, when we hear about things that affect your mood and neurotransmitters and so on, one of the terms we hear all over the press today are serotonins. And there's another one, I believe, it's called GABA. Are you implying that these bacteria actually produce serotonin and GABA?
Yes, so lactobacillus has the ability to create GABA and serotonin. So yeah, it's kind of crazy actually. Like, neurotransmitters are being produced within your gut, and then through various pathways within the body, they're being able to connect to the central nervous system, which is your body's basically electric wiring, and it's controlling like through your brain, controlling pretty much everything. So the smallest thing is controlling the largest thing, which is extremely amazing.
Yeah, so this research sort of cements that phrase that we used all the time, gut feeling, gut reaction, gut instinct. So basically, there is a big connection between your gut and your brains.
Now, this really sounds exciting and very new. I take it is, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so essentially, to put it in jargon, this kind of supports in a way you are what you eat.
Yes, exactly. That is so true. That is so true. You can really manipulate your microbiome by the foods that you eat, and they've done so many clinical studies which shows that even in a couple of weeks, your microbiome can change. It's a very dynamic area. Your gut is a very dynamic area. It's constantly moving, constantly evolving, constantly changing. And so when you take processed foods and, foods that are not very high in microbiome, the good bacteria sort of mellow down. But if you take these wonderful fruits and yogurt and sourdough bread, it helps them good bacteria grow.
So, this implies something, and there may not be any evidence at all for this, and I may be way off base, but this almost implies that probiotic foods may have some connection with treating mental illness.
Well, not necessarily treating mental illness because the focus really is on the microbes. The probiotics, the action they're taking is basically just to influence the microbiome, but the microbiome, it's what's really like having, connections to your mood and just several psychological kind of actions and whatnot. But the thing to really, I guess the takeaway point is what people who are watching this show can use this research to do in their own lives. Basically being aware of the connection between your microbiome and your mood, basically, but also one thing that you can do in your diet is to focus on food diversity, because the microbiome can basically be thought of as like an animal kingdom. You have all these different species and they're all dependent on each other, and it's really important that they're all in balance, as Hema was talking about before, with being in a symbiotic state. So you want to make sure that you eat a really rich diversity of foods, because that supports a very rich diversity, microbe diversity, which is what you want for good gut health. You want a lot of different strains, and the only way you can do that is by eating a wide variety of food.
So then, something I'd like to ask is that does the Food and Drug Administration or the FDA officially recognize any proposed benefits for prebiotic or probiotic agents?
As of now, FDA does not support the claims of the probiotics, because before FDA recommends the use, they do a lot of clinical trials.
Right.
And as of now, it does not support it because it's a supplement. A supplement is not regulated by FDA.
Right.
So it's up to your own discretion that you take. FDA doesn't have a say on it. And that's why the supplements which you get in the market, you don't know what's in it because FDA does not control it. So you don't know exactly how much of probiotics are there in those little pills.
That's right. Okay, so right now, under FDA, you cannot claim that a prebiotic agent or probiotic bacteria can be used to cure or treat any particular disease. But on the other hand, do physicians themselves, since physicians can recommend things off-label, do they sometimes recommend these agents, prebiotics and probiotics?
It's a very emerging field, and physicians are still waiting to hear more about it through clinical research and studies. But still, some physicians use their knowledge for certain cases, for certain individuals who have certain problems. They may use the probiotic, but it is not a standard like, okay, I'm giving antibiotic, I'm giving probiotic. It's not a standard procedure. It depends from patient to patient, and the doctor uses his discretion about it.
Because one time I went in to a doctor, and in the last couple of years, he told me, you should try eating yogurt.
Yes, yes, yes. So again, yogurt you can never overdo. With supplements and those drinks and capsules, you can overdo. So with yogurt, yes, you can always enjoy yogurt and get the benefits of probiotic.
Okay, or enjoy many of the foods that we have here on the countertop.
Yes.
Now, let's say the consumer says, oh, this sounds all well and good, so I'm going to go into a good quality supermarket today and I'm going to buy some probiotic agents or foods with these agents. How do they know they're getting what they want to get?
Well,
is there some specific labeling, for instance?
The best part is when you take food in the natural form, you don't have labels. Like broccoli and cabbage doesn't come with a label. But research and a lot of clinical studies have suggested that eating broccoli and cabbage does help the probiotic. Then yogurt has live bacteria. So when you get yogurt, maybe you can check and see if it's got live bacteria. Because there's some yogurts which don't have live bacteria. Then you see kombucha. So maybe when you're looking for any probiotic fermented foods, see if there's a term called as bacteria, live bacteria in it.
Now, one of the terms that we hear often in especially dairy products is pasteurized. Does pasteurization kill bacteria?
I'm not too familiar with it.
Okay.
There may be some studies in it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. Well, does either have you have any last-minute comments that you'd like to make? We're about out of time here as far as this subject here. I found this very fascinating, very.
Yeah. I think probiotic and prebiotic foods are there in your grocery stores. I would like you to eat, enjoy, and have a happy gut.
Okay, have a happy gut. That sounds like good wisdom. Okay, well, Hema, Jessica, I want to thank both of you so much for joining us on the Better Part today, and I'm going to go home and indulge in some chocolate.
It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for watching today's Better Part show, and we hope that you found it interesting. Remember that you can view this and other Better Part shows on YouTube and Roku. Also, I would like to invite our TV viewers to join us and become members of the Better Part. Visitors are always welcome to attend our meetings held at 9:30 a.m. on Tuesdays at the Cupertino Senior Center. If you are interested in becoming a Better Part member, please contact the Senior Center for more information or simply attend one of our meetings.